Hey, boys and girls, and welcome to another Superhero Speak interview. I'm your host, Dave, and joining me this week is the creative mind behind Satime Stories, Elijah Morgan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. It's a Monday,
Yeah.
so and the high was 89 in Philly today, which
Oh
it hasn't
wow.
been that hot, warm in a while, and it hits you when all of a sudden the temperature changes like that.
Yeah, I think it was 65 or 64 in my house. So that's a big difference from where we are to
Yeah.
you.
So the question I normally start off with is, can you give me the elevator pitch for Satire Stories?
Sure, sure. So imagine that you are in the medieval times and you find out you have an extra organ called a core. And this core stands for conjuring of the realmly energy. And it's what allows people to have superpowers in this world. And so the king finds out that the main character has a core and he hires him to go on a mission to save his daughter. So that's kind of the elevator pitch.
Oh, cool. And what was the inspiration behind it?
The inspiration. So it started when I was pretty young, probably around 7 to 9 years old.
Oh,
I
wow.
was watching, I was watching Cartoon Network at my grandma's house. I couldn't afford cable, so we'd go over there to
Hmm.
watch it. And I was just watching Cartoon Network, and eventually it switched over to Toonami. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's
Yes.
kind of like the first introduction to like anime to America. And so
Right.
when Toonami went on, I saw it was either One Piece or Naruto, and it was like during a fight scene, and I was just blown away by the storytelling and the animation. It was a lot different from the American shows that I was watching, so I kind of just fell in love with their storytelling because it's so
Right.
unique.
And wow, One Piece. The,
Yeah.
the the one co-host on our show has he spent the better half of last year, well, starting in the end of last year up through like a month ago, getting caught up. He never watched it before.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, so he just was watching like 3 or 4 or 5 episodes a day, like, every day.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
he actually was recently complaining like, "Oh, now I've gotta wait for new episodes to come out now that I'm all caught
Is he
up."
all caught up? He's current.
Yeah,
Oh wow, that's like 1,100 and something episodes now. So
yep. Did
a
you watch
lot.
the, I haven't watched it yet, the live action version?
Uh, Sorry, I was getting a phone call there. The live
Ah,
action, I have watched the live action. I thought it was decent for what it was.
yeah,
I would say that if you've never watched One Piece, you might enjoy it. But I know
okay,
some people will have critiques on it if they have seen One Piece. But I mean, it makes
right,
sense. Like you can't cramp everything
no,
into the amount of episodes that they were trying to do. But
yeah,
overall, like I enjoyed it. Like some of the special effects were a little goofy here and there, but overall it was a fun watch. So I'm actually going back because when I watched it on Toonami, when my grandma had passed away, I couldn't watch Toonami anymore, and so
mhm,
I'm trying to like catch up back to where I was in One
okay,
Piece. And now there's like so many episodes. I'm like, I'm on the same spiel as your friend. I'm
yeah,
trying to cram in like 3 to 5 episodes to get caught up. So yeah.
yeah, um, so okay, so you said it in medieval times,
Hmm.
and they find out you have an organ that gives you superpowers. What kind of I'm kinda curious 'cause, a lot of people that we have on a lot of independent, creators don't really do superhero comics. So
Mm.
I'm glad to hear that you're doing them. What kind of powers are you playing around with?
Yeah, so it's a wide range. So to break down the core, it's broken up into three spots. So there's
Mhm,
three like sections of the core. There's strength, speed, and power. And strength allows your body to have more physical strength,
mhm,
durability, and also shock absorption. And the speed has to do with how fast you are, reflexes, and also your healing capabilities with your white blood cells. And then the third one is power, and it just opens up a wide range of many different things that could happen.
mhm.
It's more like an access to magic in a sense. So you can have somebody who can
Okay,
control elements to somebody who could summon something to fight, like a wide range of stuff.
that's cool. That really is. I like the idea of taking superpower I mean, I'm a Marvel fan, so of course I like this.
Yeah.
you taking powers, but then having an explanation behind it instead of just, you know,
Yeah.
they just have the Speed Force.
Yeah. Just somehow this exists, you know? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. And I do have like insight to where they actually get their powers from. So I don't want to spoil anything because it's like
right.
find out until way later, but there actually is a reason like how they get their powers. So
And when did you actually, start writing it and making the book?
yeah, so again, back when I was younger, watching Toonami, all these different shows, it started out where I wanted certain things to happen in the series
Mhm.
that weren't happening. And I was like, why don't I just make my own TV series? And so I
Right.
kind of started when I was young, and it's gone through many different changes, but I've had like, I mean, I had like a whole like book like this big from when I was a little kid.
Wow.
Sadly, it got thrown away when my family had to move. They didn't know what it was, and they literally just tossed all my stuff, and I was like,
Oh.
no. But yeah, so I started writing when I was really young. Went through a lot of different transitions, but once I got into, I actually took 2 years off from just like drawing and
Mhm,
learning how to properly uh, put together a story. So I went through different variations of like the 3 act story structure, hero's journey.
mhm.
Um, let's see what else. Save the Cat, Dan Harmon's Story Circle, because there's really no like specific story structure for like manga or anime. I feel like I couldn't like find something to just like this is how you should write it. So I kind
Right.
of just like took things that I liked from all of these and kind of structured my own and then started writing it. And I restarted doing that probably 4 or 5 years ago when I was like,
Okay.
this is my childhood dream. I still want to finish it. So I kind of started taking it more seriously.
Okay. Cool. And then, um, Comic Endeavors, is that your imprint or
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, that's my contact name. That's how you can find me on social media. Actually, the website to read it, it's
Yeah.
comicendeavors.com. And yeah, so that's just something I made up a long time ago. That was probably, I think it would have had to have been, man, I'm getting old. I don't look it, but I'm I'll be 30 this year. So
Oh,
um yeah, so I think it was when I was 20 or when I was 21. So almost 9 to 10 years ago, I came up with that name.
cool. Well, yeah, no, actually, that's how I found a lot of information and, got the, cover that I'm using in the clip art for the show, so
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I thought that clip art was really cool. I liked how you put it all together. So kudos
yeah.
to you.
Yeah, it's, well, a little bit of a backstory behind that, we had a there's 3 of us on the main show, me, John, and JD, but when we started, it was
Mhm.
me, John, and Ben. We actually all worked together at a, engineering co not an engineer, a software company, and,
Okay.
um, Ben's background was, graphic arts, so he always would do the art for all the episodes, and then,
Mm,
he ended up leaving the podcast, I wanna say 3 years in,
mm.
so um, I quickly had to learn how to do, Photoshop and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
to make it. Um, but I will say, that nowadays there's so much built into it. It's so easy to, like, take a picture and clip out the background and post it
Mm.
on another image, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's come a long way from where it was before. So
Yeah. Yeah, because when we started doing the show, I didn't have any of that kind of software, and I was just trying to the first few episodes, I was doing it myself, and
mm.
I would go into, like, Paint and, like, try to cut, things out and what, and it really I'll admit it, it looked really bad,
Okay.
and like, I didn't at the time, I didn't know that was Ben's background. All of a sudden, like, 3rd or 4th episode, he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do it from now on."
Yeah. Yeah, but
So,
now you do it all. So,
yeah.
as far as, like, clipping everything together and
Yeah, unfortunately, I do it all. Um, so how many total episodes, how many total issues, are there so far?
Yeah, so I currently have planned out there will probably be over 50 books when I'm
Oh, wow.
completed. So I have my first one here. This is my very first book,
Mhm.
and so it's 145 pages. And
Wow.
I did all the art and wrote the story, and all independent too, so self-published. Didn't go
Right.
under anyone. I don't like having, you know, even if they wanted my work, it'd be like I don't want anyone to have control over it and then
Yes.
produce something that I don't want to have happen in the series. But overall, currently, I think there's six, I believe, 5 or 6 chapters out on the internet right now, or sorry,
Mhm.
6 episodes, and each episode breaks down to 4 chapters. Um,
Okay.
the interesting part of that is I actually wrote it in the form of episodes, so you're really
Right.
supposed to read it in the form of an episode, not 4 chapters. But when I first released it online, I was doing a chapter a week, so I kind of like had to split the episodes into 4 parts and release them every week. But currently, time has just been catching up with me, and I'm not having a hard time keeping up with producing the art for it
Yeah.
while working a full-time job. And I got my first kid on the way, so
Oh,
and
wow.
that's coming. Yeah, that's coming up soon. So it's been slowing down a little bit, but I managed to find a different shift that's going to work more for me at work. So I'm able to
Okay.
do some of this at work, which will alleviate some of the time restrictions too. So, but to answer your question, I have over 10 seasons planned out. There is
Wow.
between 15 to 20 episodes in each season, and
Right.
each episode is about 40 to 46 pages. So
Cool.
a lot of stuff.
Is that, like, a long-term goal? Is it a dream to, like, get this turned into an animated series?
Yeah, that was my first dream. You know, I actually originally I didn't want to create a comic or a manga to
Mhm.
begin with. I was just like, I just want this story to be real. You know, as a little kid, I want this to be on the TV screen. But then
Right.
you learn the process of how things work. So this is kind of like a step one into putting my foot in the door, and then, you know, maybe someday as it expands, somebody will pick it up and want to create an anime from it. But that is the long term goal. But
Cool. You actually mentioned quite a few, like, writing styles and
mhm.
how you kinda search for what worked best for this. Did you go to school or taken any classes on how to, like, write comics, or did you figure this all out on your own?
Yeah, so most of it was on my own. I took a couple of online courses. I can't remember the names of them. They weren't
Mhm.
like from like an actual school, but you know how like some people will have like an advertisement of like this is a writing course or like a master class kind of.
Right,
And so I
right.
took like, 1 or 2 of those online, and then most of the other stuff you can find on YouTube. And so
Yeah.
I go on like these little manic sprees where I'll just be searching and learning as much as I can in different things. And then the things that I like from that, I will take them down and note the things that I like and then put it in a file and then somehow try to incorporate that into my writing style.
I really like your story there because there's so many people in this world that'll just be like, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't just go and make your own comic." You know? S
Mhm.
so, I mean, did you have people in your life saying that to you, and, like, what pushed you past to just do it on your own?
Yeah, yeah, that was huge going throughout my life. I mean, starting out, anime was kind of nerdy when I was a kid. Now it's more popular.
Yeah.
But as far as like pursuing this as a career and as a dream goal to be my job, I mean, most everyone was like, "Yeah, you need to go to college. You need to get a degree in something else, and
Mhm.
keep that as a hobby." That was most of the takes from family members and different people in my life. I would say really my mom was one of my biggest supporters, and
Okay.
two and then my brothers as well. They were pretty big supporters in me just, you know, don't give up on your dream, don't, you know, don't quit. Even my mom in the beginning, she was more like, go get a career job, keep this as a hobby until it blows up, and don't pursue it. But then eventually it got to the point where she was just like, nah, I think your work's good enough, like just go for it. And that was a huge turning point because I mean, I went to college, I tried to do it, I took a couple semesters for graphic design, ended up getting hired as a graphic designer,
Mhm.
a graphic artist, and I just didn't like drawing for people. It was not fun to just sit there and I don't know what it is. It's just like it's not enjoyable to draw something that you don't like to draw.
Right.
So it definitely was not a career path that I wanted to choose. And then eventually I was like, all right, I'm just gonna see what I can do. And so I've been trying different ways to earn money and turn this into a full-time living.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my girlfriend's other son watch this because he's an artist and um he's going to the University of the Arts here in Philly, but he he's really bad at like he has a project to do and he'll wait till the last minute. He's a procrastinator because he
Mm,
doesn't like other people telling him what kind of art to create.
yeah,
And we keep telling him like a lot of the jobs you're gonna get as an artist is might be a commercial artist or working for a company where you're creating something for advertising. You're gonna have deadlines, and you can't sit there
yeah,
and say like, "No, no, no, I'm not inspired right now to do this."
yeah,
So
yeah. You can't just set it aside.
right,
It's how you're paying your bills. So
yeah, he's
yeah,
a good kid, but he's just he's still young in that way. So
yeah. Well, I hope he hears this and that he I don't know, he takes charge and and goes after what he wants to do with his art style.
yeah,
So,
well,
I mean,
that's
there are
another
plenty
thing.
of avenues. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's interdisciplined, so, like, it's painting and photography and sculpture, like, he's doing all of it, and it's like, that's great, and he really is talented in all of it, but, I don't know, eventually you gotta pick a path, I think. I could be
Mm.
wrong, I'm not an artist, I mean, I'm a musician, but I'm not a graphic artist in any way, so
Yeah. Yeah, my brother, because I've ventured into different things. So I've sold
Mhm,
T-shirts before, and with my art and like various different things like that.
right,
And one of my older brothers, he said that you only have two hands, so there's only so many cookie jars you can put your hand in,
right,
and actually stay focused on getting what you want. And so try to hone in your focus on the main two
yes,
things that you really want to do, and then go from there and just go all out. And then once that gets going, then you can start venturing out to more things.
yeah, I definitely agree with that, yeah. So, um so I guess you would say you've said it a couple times. You're a big manga or anime fan. Was that this? That's kind of what you would you describe that as the style of the book? I mean, 140 page single book is more manga. Like we don't do that here unless it's a graphic novel. But most of the time, it's what is it, 32 page comics.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird sometimes because there's people in the anime community that are kind of like strictlers on you calling it a manga because you have to either be they'll usually say you have to be Japanese, which I'm actually a little bit Japanese from my
Mhm.
grandma's side. She's Korean and Japanese, but then they say, no, you have to be born in Japan in order to call it a manga. And then the other one is you have to be published by someone in Japan in order for it to be called a manga. And so I've kind of just taken the role of just saying it's a comic slash manga or a comic with manga styled art is kind
Yeah,
of how I portray it out there because it has a mixture of both a little bit of the American style and the manga style because I grew up watching Marvel shows too. Spider-Man was my favorite uh,
yeah,
growing up. So
yeah. And I don't. I'm not one to sit there and be a stickler for that kind of stuff. But I like anime, but I'm not a huge fan. But I find that funny because one of the biggest animes in this country for a while was Avatar, but
mhm.
that was made by Americans, so it's like,
Yeah,
and yet
yeah.
fans will still call it an anime, so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's like technically not an anime, but then it is
right,
because they're like, it's close enough. But
right, yeah,
that's such a great series.
they followed the styles, all that stuff, the expressions the characters did.
Mhm.
The exclamation points appearing above their heads when they're
Yeah.
surprised. Yeah, all
Yeah.
that stuff. It's like, yeah, no, this is an anime. I don't It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who made it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think when you try to put things in a restrictive box like that, it prevents people from being creative,
Yeah.
So,
I
but
agree. And the word manga, anyways, it just means like whimsical pictures. So it's like if you think your pictures
right,
are whimsical enough, then it's you can call it whatever you want.
right, exactly. Yeah. Like, people don't argue when they make, let's say, um, Godzilla X Kong and still calling them kaijus, right?
Mm,
Because, like, okay, yeah, Godzilla started in Japan, but Kong was started in this country, so it's like, but you're calling him a kaiju. It's like, well, wait a minute,
yeah.
where do you
y-
draw your lines?
Yeah. That's true. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, we just did Godzilla X Kong a couple weeks ago on the show. That's why it's on my mind.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
Well, after watching, I don't know, I don't know if you're a Godzilla fan, but after watching um Godzilla minus one, and how, like, there's a real story there, there's a romance and whatnot, and Godzilla's just the force of nature in the background. Um, and then go and see Godzilla X Kong. I'm like, yeah, that was a real letdown for me. But it just shows
Yeah.
the difference between Japanese made and American made as well, I think.
Yeah. So which one was the letdown? The first one or the second?
The second, Godzilla X Kong, because
Okay.
that's Legendary Pictures, that's the American version, and,
Oh yeah.
um, the humans are not given much to do in that movie at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard minus one was really good. I have yet to see either of those, but I've seen like all the previous
Oh,
Godzillas.
okay.
So I need to get caught up. I've just had so many different shows that people keep saying I need to watch. And
Yeah, I think minus one is on streaming now, so,
okay.
yeah, it's,
That'll be my
it
next movie to watch then.
it's good. Of course, it's all, subtitles, so, you know, make sure you're not tired when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
watch it.
Well, that doesn't bother me because I watch anime and sub
Right,
most of the
yeah.
time anyway. So
Alright, well, there's the question, and I think I know the answer based on what you just said, but, dubs or subtitle?
yeah, so mine's a mixed feeling. So usually I'll go with the sub just because it matches better with their mouths moving up and down and then the feel of the story. I will say that there are some really good dubs though, specifically Attack on Titan. That's one where I
Okay.
actually do prefer the dub just because some of the one-liners in the season 2 and 3 are just they're so good in the English and it's just like
Yeah.
music to my ears when I hear it. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. But most of the time, I tend to stick to the dub or sorry, the sub, unless I'm doing something else and it's more of like a background show. Then I'll
Right.
switch to dub so that way I can still hear it because I don't know enough Japanese to be able to know what's going on. So
Yeah, when I was younger, I collected, DVD animes on DVD, and, I would always get the sub because not the sub, the dub, because, um, I'm not one that's gonna wanna sit there, well, especially when I was, like, in my late teens, early 20s. I didn't wanna sit there
yeah.
and read a movie, and I did have always have had a tendency, like, if I'm at home watching it, I might not fully pay 100% attention to it.
Hmm.
And when I met my friend John, he was like, "Oh, that's not pure anime. You have to
Yeah.
read the
Yeah. He's like
subtitles."
sub or nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, so given what you have, everything you've told me about how you got started and created the book and everything, what's if someone came up to you and said they had an idea and they wanted to create a comic on their own, what's one piece of advice you would give to them?
Yeah, so I would say I would first ask them a question and say, "What do you think the most important thing is about making a comic or a manga?" And typically, depending on how their response, I would give what I would think is the best thing concerning that. And so I would say figuring out your story structure of how you're going
Mhm.
to write the series is the most important thing. And I'll give you some examples. You could have mid-tier art or even like not very great art and you can still become wildly successful if your story is good enough. And so an example of that is One Punch Man. I don't know if you've ever seen that,
Yeah.
but the creator of One Punch Man, his art was, I mean, it's like his main character is just like a circle, and it's just it's there's not much to it in his original
Right.
art. And so that's actually why they keep that his funny face in the series because it's like a tribute to the creator.
Oh, okay.
So he will have like this serious face and then he'll have the funny face. But his art wasn't like, I mean, it's okay, but it's not like the tiers of like manga artists, like,
Right.
pros, but then his stuff got picked up because his story was so good. And then they
Mhm.
recreated the series with more traditional and just pro artists creating the story.
Right.
And so that's an example of the art not being the best, but the story was so good that it was successful. And then the vice versa is, um, I picked up a manga of a creator, an independent creator, and I read it, and I was like, I picked it up because of the art. The art was so
Mhm.
phenomenal. I mean, it was just like beautiful. And I picked it up and I read the first 10 pages, and I was like, I can't follow this. Like, I don't even know where I'm at. I'm
Right.
like, the art's beautiful, yes, but where's the story going? Where's that going? So that's something I tell people who are wanting to start out is like, go read Save the Cat, go read The Story Circle by Dan Harmon,
Mhm.
go learn the 3-act story structure, the hero's journey, and pick the things you like from it in order to create your series. Because if you don't have a good structure to your story, then it doesn't matter, how great your art is. It's gonna flop. So
Right.
that's not the case always. There are some people who have really great art, and it gets popular anyways. Even though the story's not that great, there's plenty of anime like that. So, but
True.
yeah.
All right. And then probably one of the most important questions I'm going to ask you this evening. Um,
Mhm.
where is the best place for people to find you online and the best place to pick up your books?
Yeah, so to find me online, I have Instagram. I know TikTok's getting banned, so I'm not really directing people towards that anymore.
Yeah.
And then I have been trying to start my YouTube up as well. And so you could just find me at Comic Endeavors. It's the same as my name in this. Well, there it is, the title right here.
Hmm.
And my name online is one word, it's all together for
Okay.
the social media accounts. As far as my website, it's comicendeavors.com, and that will take you straight to the website. The first episode's free, so the first 45 pages is free, and then after that, it's like a Patreon base.
Okay.
So it's $1 a month if people like the first episode and they want to continue reading the chapters that are out and the chapters that I will continue to release. It's $1 a month. And then if you want to buy the book, that's linked on the website as well. But I kind of have that limited because right now I'm going to anime and comic conventions and
Yeah.
I'm selling physical copies. And so I don't want to have to worry so much about, prepping books and sending them out while I'm trying
Right.
to keep my inventory for these conventions.
Makes
So
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And I'll make sure I link all of that down below too for everyone. So
Okay.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
And the question that we normally like to end on is how do you measure success?
Yeah, so this is I'll give you a little story. So
Okay.
this is when I was really struggling with the negative influences of
Hmm.
people just telling me, you can't do this, this is a child's dream, you're not going to pursue this, you're not going to make money off of it, yada yada. I was on an airplane, and somebody I knew, a fellow coworker, was on an airplane. This was when I was working at DGS Airlines, and I was on this plane, and we happened to sit next to each other. And I was kind of sharing, those feelings of the pressure of just like people saying, you're not going to be able to do this. And he said, why do you care? You know, it's like what you determine as successful is all based upon you. There's the world standards, but that doesn't mean it's success. It's like, are you happy with the stuff that you've created? Are you happy with what you're pursuing and the dreams that you're going after? It doesn't mean that you have to be a billionaire, to be successful. Is,
Hmm.
are you doing what you want to do on this earth before you go? And then I was like, wow, like that just really hit me and sunk in of just like, man, I really do want to pursue this comic, pursue this dream, and get it out there. Just, my biggest fear is that I'll die and all these stories will still be stuck in my head. And so my goal is to just get them out on paper, before I pass on. And so that would be my determination of success. And
Okay.
for every individual, you get to decide what's successful. Cut out the outside voices, pursue your dreams. So
I really like that answer. I really do. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I think that's a good place to put a pin in it. So thank you again for doing this,
yeah.
and for everyone else that's watching, thanks for watching. Um, Don't forget, if you're not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button, uh, and click like, because it really helps with the algorithm, and it'll help Elijah out. I mean, come on, he's a nice guy. You wanna help him out. So, on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for watching, and don't let your cape get caught in the door.